If you watch one of my most recent videos, you're probably up a lot of money right now. I'm currently up over 35% of my Celsius position. I'm currently up over 40% of my trade desk position. But if you missed out on both of these stocks, don't worry about it. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys two stocks that could potentially make you a lot of money before the year is over with. I'm going to show you why these stocks can make you a lot of money and how you can get into this play. So I value your time. With that being said, let's get right into it. All right, so the first stock that I want to talk about is Reddit stock. As you guys can see, it has not been the best week for Reddit. The stock is down almost 11% the past week. At the worst, it came down almost 15%. So Reddit stock came from a high of about 280 all the way down to a low of about 199. So, all right, this is a pretty good sized correction. So before I explain to you guys why this is potentially a good buying opportunity, let me explain to you guys why the stock had this massive drop or this massive overreaction. So as you guys can see, the reason why this overreaction is happening is because the AI licensing revenue concerns. So before September 11, 2025, Reddit content was cited in over 14% of ChatGPT's web-based responses. By early October, the figure had fallen below 2%, while the total impact on Reddit's traffic is unclear. AI chatbots have become an increasingly significant source of referrals, and investors are concerned about the loss of visibility. So as you guys can see, because of this news, investors are having an overreaction, right? And it's causing a lot of negative sentiment within the stock, which is causing the stock price to drive down. So obviously, I think this is an overreaction because whenever you have a stock like Reddit, right, which has gone up a lot in the past year, right, had this massive run from the lows in April of 95 all the way to the highs of around 270s or even 280s. Whenever you have a stock go up that much in such a short time frame, any type of negative news can cause the market to overreact, and the stock can go down significantly like what we're seeing the past week. But the reason why I believe that this is an overreaction is because of Reddit's most recent earnings report. So we take a look at this, right? This is the most recent earnings report that Reddit had July 31st of 2025. Revenue $500 million, increase of 78% year over year and beat analyst expectations. Diluted EPS 0.45. Also beat analyst expectations. Daily active users 110.4 million, up 21% year over year. Net income 89 million, which is the most profitable quarter to date. Right, primary drivers: advertising revenue saw strong growth, 84% year over year, and revenue from data licensing and other streams, including AI training partnership, also increased. And outside this, also increased their outlook or their future guidance. So Reddit provided optimistic guidance for the third quarter 2025, estimated revenue in the range of 535 million to 545 million. So the company basically had one of the best earning reports that it's had in a given quarter. Now, whenever Reddit had this earnings report, if we go back a little bit in time, around this time frame, right, Reddit stock had this massive run from 144 all the way to 285. So now the stock market has basically overreacted to this news and driven the stock price down significantly, giving back most of the gains that Reddit saw after having those really good earnings report. And I believe that this is a good opportunity because if Reddit does have a good earnings report on their next report, right, which is going to be the end of this month, and the stock is still undervalued or significantly down from its all-time high, there's no reason why this stock can't shoot up back to a new all-time high or go even higher, right? This stock's extremely volatile, and right now it's in a moment where there's some negative sentiment going on around it. But if Reddit does have good future earnings and it regains back some type of positive sentiment, right, or regaining investors' confidence in the stock, this stock could easily shoot back up to new all-time high. It's extremely volatile, and right now the market is just looking for some type of good news for the stock. And if you take a look at it, it looks like it found some type of level of support around that $200 range, right? Hit $200, bounce back up to 212. So this might be a good opportunity to get into the stock and build a solid position. So basically, right, you got a situation where you got a company that had a really good earnings report, and the company is basically telling us that they're expecting to make more money in the foreseeable future or their next earnings report, which is going to be the end this month. And now the market's overreacting to some news that came out. So to me, that seems like a really good opportunity to get into the stock. But let's talk about the different type of ways that you can get into the stock and start a position. So the first thing that you can do to start a position, the most conservative thing you can do, is simply just to buy Reddit stock. So you believe that this is an overreaction and that Reddit could potentially go back to its all-time highs and could potentially have a good earnings report in the foreseeable future. Simply buy the stock and just dollar cost average. So what I mean by this is, let's say you start a position now around the low 200s. If Reddit drops like $10 or every $5, right, whatever price you're comfortable with, simply just keep on dollar cost averaging. Don't try to time the market. Dollar cost average, believe in the product, right? And just be patient. So the next thing you can do if you want to take a little bit more risk, which is what I'm personally doing right now, is you can buy a 2x leverage position on Reddit. So basically, whenever I saw Reddit bottom out around that $200 range and found a good level of support and it bounced back up, I started a position around that low $200 range. And I bought RDTL, right, which is a 2x leverage. So every time Reddit goes up, right, it goes up 2x that amount. Every time Reddit goes down, it goes down 2x that amount. I currently have $2,000 in this, and I'll keep on dollar cost averaging into this what I'm comfortable with putting in, right? Because I do believe that this is an overreaction. I do believe that the stock will eventually go back up to potentially all-time highs. Now, the last thing that you can do, you want to take a little bit more risk, is you can buy options on Reddit, right? I highly suggest buying leap options. So these are long-term options that give you a lot of time for things to play out. So for example, if we look at the January 15th, right, of 2027 options, you can buy call options that expire January 15th, 2027. That gives you a lot of time for things to play out. It gives you a lot of time for the market, if it wants to keep on overreacting, for the price to drop, right, it gives you time for it to go back up so you can potentially make some money from this. So overall, if you do believe that Reddit stock could go back up in the foreseeable future, figure out what type of risk you're comfortable with taking, whether you buy Reddit stock itself or you buy the leverage position or you buy options, right? Figure out what type of risk you want to take. Figure out how much money you're comfortable with betting and simply just be patient and let time do its thing. So that being said, let's talk about stock number 2. All right, so the next stock that I want to talk about is Meta, right? So you guys can see Meta has had this massive pullback from its previous all-time highs that we saw around the high 790 range. And I believe that this is a great opportunity. So before I explain to you guys why this is such a great opportunity, so some of the reasons why Meta stock is seeing this pullback is because of new competition in AI infrastructure spending. So Meta is spending a lot of capital money and trying to build infrastructure and trying to basically develop the AI side of the business model, right? And maybe this is a concern to investors one way or the other. Another reason why is because advertising and AI integration, right? So news reports that Meta plans to use conversations with AI chatbot, Meta AI for targeted advertising. So maybe investors are looking at this in a negative way, right? So maybe this caused some type of overreaction. On top of this, you also have insider selling from the CEO and other people, other members of the board. But overall, I still personally believe that this is an overreaction primarily because of how good Meta's earnings report was in their most recent quarter. So if we take a look at this, so revenue was $47.52 billion, an increase of 22% year over year. So this beat analyst expectations. Diluted EPS was 7.14, a 38% increase year over year. This also beat analyst expectations. Net income was $18.34 billion, up 36% year over year. Family Day active people, 3.48 billion on average for June 2025, up 6% year over year. Advertising revenue, 46.6 billion, up 21% year over year, driven largely by the AI advancement in the ad system. So they did lose money from the reliability labs, but this was less than expected. So basically, you got a company that had a really good earnings report, and now the market's overreacting to some news that came out. So you guys can see back here where Meta had its most recent earnings report around the end of July. The stock had a massive jump all the way up to the all-time high that we saw at 796, right? Because the earnings report was really good. And now the market is basically giving up all those gains, and the stock is now trading around that 710, 711 range. So I believe that this is a good opportunity because whenever the market has an overreaction like this and basically gives up all the gains that a company has made after having good earnings, right? More than likely, it's a good time to get back into that stock, especially if that stock has a good earnings report in the foreseeable future. So we saw the same example of this with Celsius stock, right? So the stock had an amazing earnings report, had a massive run up. Market had some type of overreaction, right? Whether people were taking profits or reacting to some type of news that came out, the stock bottomed out and eventually started going back up because the market knows that this company had a good earnings report, right? And the foreseeable future for this company looks pretty good. So I believe that this is potentially the same thing that we're seeing with Meta, right? The market's having an overreaction, gave up all the gains from the previous earnings report. And now, eventually, right, it'll potentially find some type of bottom and could find its way going back up. And the second reason why I believe this is such a good opportunity is because the stock is about to be oversold on the RSI. So whenever you have a good company like Meta, a blue chip company like Meta, that becomes oversold on the RSI, it's almost always a good opportunity. So let me show you guys what I'm talking about. So right now, we're about to be oversold on the RSI. If we go back to the last time Meta was oversold on the RSI, this was back in that massive correction that we saw in April. So after this, right, Couple weeks, couple months later, the stock had a massive run. If we go back again in the past, right, over here, got close to being oversold in the RSI. Stock had a massive run up. We go back again. Right, over here, stock had a massive correction, almost oversold in the RSI. The stock had a massive run up in the foreseeable future. You go back some more, oversold in the RSI. Right, stock had a massive run up. You guys get the point, right? Whenever you have a good company like this, great financials, great earnings support, and it's oversold in the RSI. So there's a lot of different signs that this could potentially be a good opportunity to get into, and just be patient and let it play out. So now let's talk about how you can start a position in Meta. So you believe that Meta can go back on the foreseeable future, and this isn't overreaction. The most conservative thing that you can do is simply just buy the stock and dollar cost average, right? No one knows how low the stock is going to go. No one knows what the future is going to hold 100% of the time. But there's no point in trying to time it. You can just simply dollar cost average and believe in your thesis. So you could buy Meta now, right? If Meta drops, let's say every time Meta drops $10, $20, right? Whatever you're comfortable with, just keep on dollar cost averaging in the stock and just be patient. Now, if you have a little bit more money to spend, right? Meta's a pretty expensive stock. You could buy long-term options, right? Buy leap options on Meta. So for example, options that expire in 2027, right? Giving you a lot of time to play out, right? Because you think the stock is undervalued and you think the stock could potentially have a good earnings support in the foreseeable future and go back up. If you have the money to spend, you could buy long-term options and just be patient and give yourself a lot of time for things to go right. So this is exactly what I'm doing right now. I bought long-term call options that expire in 2027. I'm giving myself a lot of time for things to play out. Right, this is because I don't know how much lower the stock can go. I can't predict the future. The stock could come all the way back down to that 690 range, maybe 680, right? Who knows what the future holds? I can't predict it, but I want to give myself time for things to play out. So at the end of the day, I can't predict the future. I have no idea how much lower these stocks can go, but I simply don't care, right? I'm making a bet because I believe that these companies are undervalued based on my analysis, and I could be completely wrong. So make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure it makes sense to you before you make a bet. Right, and make sure you put in money that you're willing to lose no matter what. So let me know what other stocks you guys are looking forward to getting into. Let me know what you guys think about the video. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.